Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Monday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome, listeners, to a glorious Monday morning. Makes me sick.
What's that from?
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, yeah. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, my rebellious Ascarius. My rebellious Aquarius, it's your turn today.
Dear Aquarius, get ready for an exhilarating journey in July. This month, the cosmos is fueling your creative fire and igniting your innovative spirit. Your unique ideas and out-of-the-box thinking will take center stage, propelling you towards new and exciting opportunities. In your professional life, your inventive mind will lead you to groundbreaking solutions. Enhance your originality, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Your ideas will captivate others and gain recognition, opening minds to advancements and success. Collaboration with like-minded visionaries will enhance your creative endeavors even further. Keep pushing boundaries and watch your career soar to new heights. When it comes to relationships, your innovative approach will infuse freshness and excitement into your personal connections. You may find yourself drawn to individuals who share your passion for new experiences and unconventional thinking. Taking care of your well-being should be a top priority this month, though. This is an excellent time to explore alternative healing methods and holistic practices. Your mind-body connection is stronger than ever, and experimenting with innovative wellness routines will bring you renewed vitality. Engage in activities like yoga, meditation, or expressive arts to tap into your inner wellspring of creativity while promoting balance and harmony. Financially, it's time to think outside the box. Innovative investment opportunities may present themselves, but exercise caution and thoroughly research before making any decisions. Trust your instincts, but don't forget to lean on the guidance of a trusted financial professional to make the most of your resources. Throughout July, embrace your Aquarian nature of originality and the unconventional. Your creative and innovative ideas have the power to shape your destiny. Remember to nurture your own well-being, find joy in exploring new opportunities, and inspire others with your visionary spirit. The universe is ready to reward your inventive approach.
Well, Aquarius, sounds like you guys are going to have an interesting start to July. Bloop, bloop. Now that we're done with the reading for the week, let's get right into the stories while enjoying my morning Kepa brew. So what am I drinking this morning?
Today, you're going to have some Wayu oolong tea with some orange peel, lemongrass, and white peach for some sweetness.
I can definitely taste the earthiness in it, like a little bit of grass. Not really my thing, but it's still okay.
So how would you rate this?
On a scale of 1 out of 5, probably a 2. It's okay.
All right. Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for picking my wife up from the airport 10 minutes late? Here's what happened. My wife was due to fly in to one of the most popular airports in the world last night at around 9 p.m. Her landing time was 8:50 p.m. No checked luggage, so I told her I'd be there at 9 p.m. At about 8:05 p.m., she apparently started calling my phone, but unfortunately, I didn't see/hear the calls until 8:15 p.m. This is because, like her, I keep my iPhone with the little silent switch on at all times so that it just vibrates. I didn't hear the vibration because I had my gaming headset on and was gaming/talking with friends. Keep in mind, I wasn't expecting any calls from her until after she landed. When I finally realized she was calling me, I looked at my phone by chance. I picked up and she told me that her plane had landed early. In this airport? Unheard of. And she told me to leave now. I just said, okay, I'll see you soon, and hung up. This is where the AITA moment comes in. I thought it was fine to finish my online match and left the house 10 minutes later. I drove to the airport and there was a ton of traffic, as usual and as expected. And I didn't pull up to where her and her friend were waiting until about 9:05. As fate would have it, that was pretty much the original time we had planned on picking her up. To make a long story somewhat shorter, my wife sprung the fact that we had to bring her friend home as well, which I was fine with. They lived a few minutes away, and everything was fine until after we dropped the friend off. Then my wife showed me how upset she was that I made her wait an extra 10 minutes, and that there was a huge difference between 30 minutes and waiting 40 minutes. At first, I kind of laughed it off and tried not to be upset back at her, but inside I was thinking, hello, I'm doing you a favor by driving to the airport and picking you up in the first place. Why are you getting upset over waiting 10 minutes longer than you wanted when people sometimes wait hours to be picked up at the airport? Eventually, we had a little back and forth about it, but I was just sick of the arguing over something so small, to me, and I wanted to just agree to disagree. And my wife was also sick of talking to me if I wasn't going to apologize, so I went to sleep. Am I the a-hole? I feel like this isn't an apology-worthy event. You can't just land almost an hour early and expect your driver, even if they're your husband, to drop everything they're doing and come pick you up immediately, right?
Okay, a good start to Monday. Let's go on this journey with him. I'm sitting on the couch playing games with my friends.
Sounds amazing already.
It's around 7:30, 8 o'clock. I know in about an hour, or probably 30 minutes, I probably need to get my butt heading towards the airport. Because he's right, at least he's rational and logical about what he's saying. There's always traffic. No matter what airport you're heading to, you gotta anticipate that there's probably gonna be a little bit of traffic to get there.
Fair enough.
Now, he can't anticipate in this story that his wife's plane is gonna land an hour early, but those things do happen. So he also states that his phone is on silent, like his wife.
Correct.
They both, that's their habit anyway.
I think that's a lot of people's habits.
I think when I'm in the point where we would have to pick someone up at an airport, or if there was something going on at a certain time period, I put the phone on.
You're right. You always make me turn mine on, even though I hate those notifications.
And that's where, I understand it. He's saying that these are their habits. So it could have just been a harmless, I forgot. But again, in those situations, you kind of turn it on when you know things are going on, just in case something happens. So I guess I'll start with the first thing I didn't like. Don't go to sleep angry. That's not good. I think that's one of the better pieces of advice that I had received when I was younger about relationships. If you really love someone, don't go to sleep angry. It doesn't do you guys any good. So you probably should have talked that out instead of just falling asleep and not caring about what your partner really thought. Resentment really grows from that type of handling of problems. I think anyway. I could be wrong. Everyone handles their stuff differently, but that's just one of my biggest pieces of advice to anyone.
It's one of my most favorite things about you.
But yeah, back to the main part of this. He's playing with his friends. The plane lands an hour early. She gives him a call. He doesn't pick up for at least a little bit.
A good 15 to 20 minutes.
So when he finally picks up, he's like, hey, cool, you landed. I'll be there. Hangs up, proceeds to play for another 10 minutes on his game, which is understandable. I understand if that's how you want to do it. If you think you can make it in time and you're trying to end your progress in whatever game you're playing. So he plays his game, finishes it up, leaves the house 10 minutes later, arrives at the airport. So his mind is in an interesting place because they land an hour early. In his title, it's very misleading because it's not 10 minutes late. It's 40 plus in that zone late.
Correct.
That's a little bit misleading on his part because initially I was on his side. I'm like, well, 10 minutes. If you're really going to get bent out of shape over 10 minutes of being inconvenienced, we have a little bit of a problem there, I think anyway, especially if you can't be understanding as a partner. But we're talking about 40 minutes. That's a little bit more than 10. So he gets there, picks them up. He thinks everything's okay at this point, drops off the friend. Now, what's interesting is he didn't know that he had to drop off his wife's friend as well. But he handles that with grace. He's like, no big deal. He goes and drops off the friend first, and then they proceed to head home. But yeah, that's where he kind of realizes that something's wrong.
I can just imagine as her friends leaving the car, she turns around and she's like, you.
She just immediately understands now that there's a problem. He, in my mind, I guess I'll say it like this. I do believe that he is the a-hole. I understand that he's looking at it more like, hey, you said 9 o'clock. I'm only late by 10 minutes. Well, in his mind.
Even then, though, he was still on time. And that's his thing. He was on time to the original time.
He was, but that's not how life works. You have to adjust when you get scenarios. You got to play with the cards you're dealt. But yeah, you're definitely the a-hole. Not so much about how everything unfolded. It's about how you reacted afterwards.
I can definitely see and understand that. So let me go ahead and give you the consensus and what moderators have said. So the moderators put this as he's the a-hole. And there was quite a bit of people that actually put down that he's the a-hole and that he's not the a-hole and that everyone sucks here.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and break that all down. For the not the a-hole, they said she got there unexpectedly, an hour sooner. And if he arrived there at the time that was designated, had he not had his phone at all, it would have been out of his control.
Sure, if this was the 90s.
That her just blowing up because she's frustrated that maybe everything didn't unfold the way that she had envisioned. And it's not right to go ahead and throw your frustrations on your partner, even if that day sucked.
Okay.
Now, you have another segment of the Redditors that said, well, everyone sucks here. He did things wrong. She did things wrong. And it's not just one side or the other. And then you have the segment that's saying that he's the a-hole. And this one's, of course, a larger segment, which is why moderators had it as he's the a-hole. And let me go ahead and break all of that down. Now, the first part is his attitude. And I think a lot of people truly could pick up on this, just like you could. For me, it came with his verbalization of his inner monologue, which is, hello, I'm doing you the favor.
Yeah.
It should never be seen as that when you're trying to help your partner, especially when it comes to these sort of routines that you guys, when it comes to somebody picking someone up or there being a favor, when you actually put down that I'm doing you the favor, it's like your partner is beholden to you in some form. And it no longer becomes a back and forth relationship of give and take.
Yeah, it's a tit for tat.
Exactly.
What do I get if I do this for you?
That for me is what steered me wrong.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of other commenters, they put down, well, why is it that you just didn't track the plane? So let me go ahead and read some of his edits that he actually put into his post.
Oh no, he responded with people.
He did. It's not bad, but I find it funny.
Good.
Edit 1. I was not aware of the fact that you could track travel times of flights after they left their departing location. That's my bad. I will do better in the future. Also, someone said I'm an a-hole for not missing my wife. She was gone for one night. I did not miss her in the true sense of the word, LOL. Edit 2. I literally just showed my wife some of the responses here, and she had the exact response I thought she would because she's my wife. She laughed. Someone really thought their response to me saying that I didn't miss my wife was clever when they said, show her this one too. Well, I did, and she laughed. We're adults in our 30s, and we've been together for almost a decade. A night apart isn't shit. Now, it's good to know that the relationship seems like it's going to stand up pretty strong. If anything, I think when a lot of commenters read these situations, especially when there's an argument between a couple, that it stems into them needing to break up or that there's some deeper issue rather than it's just, unfortunately, a really thoughtless moment.
Sure.
And when somebody's so used to something making sense to them, it's hard for them to see a different perspective until they're told that. Now, as I said, this guy seems to know his wife and he says he's been with her for over a decade, and kudos to that.
It seems like it's just a little bit of learning how to communicate with each other a little better and respect each other's feelings towards certain events that do happen if they do.
Well, I guess while we're leaving the airport, we can go ahead and see what's happening to this son and his father's fiance. For our next story, am I the a-hole for making my dad's fiance cry? My father, 54 male, and his fiance, 30 female, have been together for about 6 years now. When they first got together, I, 17 male at the time, was still living at home. She moved in about a month into their relationship, and I didn't have a problem with her at first, until she tried to actually mother me. I'm not talking about giving advice or being a supportive role model, more like giving me a 9 p.m. curfew. I live in a rural town, so that's a joke. And cleaning up after her dog has an accident. Every time I'd bring it up to my dad, he'd just say, just try, for me. Needless to say, I moved out soon after. Fast forward to a week ago, my dad invites me over for dinner out of nowhere, as we haven't spoken in quite some time. I hesitantly accept and spend the following few days trying to prepare myself for what they're going to say. I show up that night, bottle of wine in hand, anxious out of my mind. The night goes on for a few hours, us exchanging small talk until I can't take it anymore and ask why they invited me. My dad said that they are getting married and wanted me to be his best man. I'm not going to lie, I laughed hard. This turned into the fiancé crying because she thinks that I don't like her, and I told her that she was correct. It should also be said that given the option between me or his fiancé, my dad would choose her in a heartbeat. For example, I went on a 2-day camping trip. I had a spot in the garage for my car when I left. She had it when I got back until I moved out. I really only care about that because hail damage. I've been getting comments about if that was the worst the fiancé was while I was living there, so I guess this is info I should have added to the post. She comes from a very Christian family, and if her parents found out about the situation, I've heard she'd be essentially shunned. So I guess the biggest thing is her keeping us a secret. She expects us to just accept her into the family, and I guess her assumptions were somewhat correct. But how can she expect that when she doesn't think we're worthy of her family? She knows she's doing something wrong, yet she wants us to play along like no one is being hurt. However, at this point, I guess that one thing could have changed. I didn't ask at dinner. Am I the a-hole?
Well, there's obviously some questions I want to ask because the way this thing ends is interesting because he alludes to...
So just to go ahead and give you a little bit more info, he's now 23.
Okay.
So at the time when she first came into the picture, he was 17. He's now 23.
Okay. But I guess I want to ask this question first. What exactly is he alluding to that the family would disown or shun the fiance if they knew something?
So apparently, because her family comes from such a Christian foundation, her living with his father...
Oh, unmarried.
Out of wedlock
okay.
is the huge issue here.
Got it. Okay. I was trying to wrap my head around that because I'm like, okay, what would exactly this be? And that makes sense.
Essentially, she's keeping them as a dirty little secret.
Got it. But the OP definitely understands that.
Yes.
Okay. It sounds like it made him feel a certain way because he's alluding to it here. And I don't think anyone wants to feel like that in their life.
I think one of the issues that I can pick up from this is he feels a sort of favoritism between him and his dad's.
Definitely see it that it's between him and the fiance. That the father has definitely been like, well, this is my new life now. Bye, kid. Yeah, that sucks. You know, I'm assuming, I would hope that the relationship was good up until that point. Obviously, they lost a lot of communication during it.
So much communication was lost that, in fact, the OP in his comments said, even though he moved out and never said that he wasn't going no contact with his father, his dad never once reached out to him except for at this moment asking him to be a best man.
That's the funny part is like, goes through the entire dinner and he's like, at the end, why am I here? Because you're not here to make amends. This isn't to make things better. What is it? And then it's for a very selfish reason of the father to out of nowhere when sounds like he shunned his son. Knowingly or not, it doesn't really matter. That's how the son feels. And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, you want to be my best man? I don't know how many people would be okay with that type of situation. But I definitely believe you are not the a-hole OP.
Well, the consensus is that he's not the a-hole. And there are some people that kind of put out, you're kind of the a-hole for laughing when they asked. And
I forgot about that.
You didn't need to laugh, but...
I wonder if it was just a nervous type laugh where it was so out of the...
He said it was initially involuntary.
I can imagine, like, after all of this, you're being invited to the main table all of a sudden?
But apparently, she started putting off such a tantrum afterwards, and when he explains it, it was a full-blown tantrum. Stomping feet, minute destruction of property.
What?
He said for him, afterwards it made him laugh more, and it probably instigated the issue even worse. But if you put this precedence of almost a toxicity between our poster and his father, where in some of his comments to other commenters, he actually put down that he's happy for his dad to have found somebody to be happy with, but not at the expense of losing family. And I think that's the foundation of this whole issue, where it wasn't truly a blending of families. It was his father replacing him.
Yeah.
And while some people would say in the comment section that he's the a-hole for laughing, a lot of other people that tagged it as not the a-hole really did feel for his situation and emotionally what he seems to have gone through.
Well, yeah, he's a 23-year-old young man. The good thing for you, OP, is you're 23, you got your life ahead of you, and going forward, you'll be able to choose who you allow in your life and call family.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this situation behind us. Hopefully our poster can find a little peace. And for our next story, am I the a-hole for yelling at my brother's pregnant girlfriend and kicking them both out of my house after she threw away my food? I, 27 male, live alone. My brother, 21 male, and his girlfriend, 19 female, still live with our parents as they can't afford a place of their own. His girlfriend is currently pregnant with him in 4 months. My brother asked to bring his girlfriend for dinner in order to catch up, and I said sure, why not? However, the moment she entered my house, she started complaining about the smell of the steak I was making and said just the smell alone makes her nauseous and she can't eat this. I tried to suggest an alternative, but she was dead set on Chinese food and ended up sending my brother to the nearest mall in order to get her some. I thought that would be the end of it, but after going to the bathroom and coming back, I caught her throwing my unfinished steak into the garbage. I asked her what the hell she was doing, and she said the smell was so strong, she thought she'd end up throwing up on the floor and she needed to get rid of it, and then started spraying a perfume from her purse in my kitchen. I was beyond furious at this point and sent her back to the living room, and after my brother came from the mall, I kicked both of them out with their Chinese food. My brother tried to convince me to let them back and that I could make something else for the two of us, and his girlfriend was pretty much sobbing at this point, but I was dead set on kicking them both out. However, my parents ended up being mad at me for apparently causing so much distress to my brother's pregnant girlfriend. I told them that she literally threw away our dinner, but they said that I shouldn't have yelled at her or kicked them out as she's still just a teenager who's now getting influenced by her pregnancy hormones, and that my outburst also caused problems in their relationship as she ended up sending my brother to sleep on the couch that night, even though he literally defended her as well against me. So I have no clue how this is my fault. Am I the a-hole for apparently not having enough tact to deal with a pregnant teenager? Edited for spelling.
Okay, let's go on this journey of misunderstanding, being young, and anger.
I can't wait.
So, OP's 27. He's cooking some steaks for him and his brother.
And the girlfriend.
Yes, at this point, it's the understanding that the three of them are going to share a meal together.
Correct.
Brother is 20, and his girlfriend, I think he's girlfriend. They're not married, right?
Correct.
Girlfriend is 19. She also happens to be pregnant. They come over. It's going to be a nice dinner. The second she walks in the door, she already lets everyone understand that that is a nauseating scent that she's being peppered with. It sounds like she had a change of heart as to what she wanted to eat, because I'm certain they probably talked about exactly what the dinner was going to entail before they got there. I assume that's normally how people function.
Most
like, what are we
people
having
do.
for dinner? She sends her boyfriend out, OP's brother, to go get some Chinese food from a local mall during this time period. I think OP leaves to the bathroom or something like that.
Correct.
Comes back to find out that his steak that he was cooking is being shoved into the garbage can. That's mistake number 1. You're in someone else's home, throwing away their food. Mistake 2. You take out your perfume in someone else's home and spray their kitchen with it.
Which is so disgusting. You don't spray perfume in a kitchen.
You don't know if he's allergic to that or if, you know what I mean? Like, that's a scent. That stays around. I understand that when women are pregnant, there's things that are out of their control. Nausea comes on with any scent.
Oh, yes.
They don't get to pick.
No.
I get that part. But you do get to pick where you're at. You're at someone else's home, not your own. You could have left at any point. Instead, you throw away someone else's food, spray down their kitchen with your perfume, and then at the end of this night, once he kicks them out, we don't know what goes on between the couple. Again, they're very young. It sounds like his brother is trying. He goes out and gets the food for her. He defends her in this situation. So he's doing things the way he
As a good partner should.
Yes. Although I think also as a good partner, you do need to be there as a steadying rock.
And be honest.
And definitely be honest. Even if it's hard, that's where communication starts.
You don't need to do the call out in front of other people, but
you definitely need to talk to each other about, hey, this is where I think you went wrong. Because it is not a scapegoat to be a terrible person because you're pregnant.
Well, let me go ahead and let you know the consensus on Reddit, and then we'll delve right into this. So the consensus is our poster's not the a-hole. In fact, a lot of people came out of the woodwork for this one.
Oh.
The first part said she is a teenager. You're having a kid, essentially try and figure out and is going to be raising a kid. The moment that you got pregnant, you became an adult and you should act like one.
Yep.
Act the maturity that you're now going to have to be for your child. So our poster's parent coming to him and telling him that she's a teenager and that being an excuse is unreasonable.
Yes, it is.
And then you had a lot of women who have experienced pregnancy and they say, look, I've had to deal with my fair share of nausea and it's awful. But this behavior doesn't have anything to do with hormones and pregnancy. This is entitled behavior and it comes from the foundation of that person. You should have just stepped away. If you can't handle the smell, don't be around it.
Yep.
Say that you need to go. If there's something that you can't stomach, just be honest. And then
people can make accommodations or they won't. But at least you're not going out of your way throwing a temper tantrum.
But the fact that she went ahead and, as you said, went into someone else's kitchen, threw away someone else's food, and then proceeded to go ahead and spray it down like it's their own shows her entitled behavior.
Yeah.
And it was very childish and, in a way, spoiled. The fact that this is how everything sort of fell open, our poster has the right to remove people from his home that he doesn't want them to be in his home, especially when they're disrespecting him.
Yep.
In the end, it is pregnancy does not excuse bad behavior.
Yes, I can definitely agree with that.
And that sort of summarizes every comment that I've seen out there, aside from all the comments regarding how young she is and how it's essentially a kid raising a kid when you're acting like a kid. Well, that seems to be sort of a hectic situation, especially concerning those relationships, whether it's familial or as a couple. So let's go ahead and head into our next couple relationship and their vacation. Am I the a-hole? On vacation, less than an hour before, my wife flips out. Today has been a day. Dropped our kids off with my parents earlier today and drove to our rental house a few hours away for a long weekend away without the kids. Drive goes well and arrive and unpack when my wife realizes she forgot her probiotics. She starts freaking out. I tell her I'm sure she'll be fine for 2 nights, and she starts yelling at me because I just don't understand how important these probiotics are to her health. I suggest that I can run to the vitamin shop tomorrow morning, and that's not acceptable because they won't have the right brand. She then states that she just wants to go home and our vacation is ruined. I am now beyond exasperated and go to take a shower. I get out and she wants me to drive over an hour away each direction to get the probiotics she's missing. Our house is an hour and a half away, so I might as well just be driving home and avoid spending money on probiotics she is expecting me to find. I told her no. I told her she would be fine for 48 hours. She called me an a-hole and is now not talking to me. So Reddit, am I the a-hole?
What a baby spicy meatball of a little situation here. Okay, so OP sets the table for us. They're planning a nice getaway on the weekend. 2 days without the kids. They're going into a rental property that they own.
Correct. I don't know if they own it, but they're going to a rental property.
Okay. So sounds like everything's going to be really nice. They get there. And I guess as OP's wife is going through their stuff and she realizes that she doesn't have her probiotics. So her vitamins that she takes, supplements. And then she proceeds to get very upset about it because for her, these are very important for her health, I think is what she says.
Correct.
Okay. Now, this isn't medication. This is just vitamins.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think when people say something's important for their health, you should probably take that very seriously because only you know your body and how you feel.
Well, some commenters actually asked our poster, will something happen with her health? Will
That's
it
kind of where I'm at.
deteriorate? And he says, absolutely nothing will happen. She'll be fine.
Okay. And he knows that for sure.
That's what he says to our commenters.
See, that's the hard part here, right? Because you're only hearing it through one person. And for someone that might be trivial, and for the person who's actually going through the problem, that might actually help them feel better. So it's really hard to...
It is. Let me just go ahead and put out there that there was other commenters that actually said counter probiotics are kind of a waste of money. The dosage tends to be really small, kind of random, and is too broad to actually target specific conditions.
So are we kind of saying that maybe OP's wife is a little bit of a worrywart? Because...
I was going to say dramatic, but yes.
Okay, I'm trying to be a little nicer about
I know
it.
you are.
Because I understand when it comes to people's health, you really do need to pay attention to when someone says, this makes me feel better. And if you're going into the game of, well, it's in your head, when you start doing those type of things to people, it's not good. So how much of it is in her head and how much of it is real?
So I guess the question is, if it's something that's important for her, should it be him that goes to drive to get it or her?
Well, I could definitely see where that could be turned around, that type of thing. Well, you're the husband. You should definitely go and do these things for your wife. But if she's that adamant about it being this important to her, it would make sense for her to go and get them. Especially if she was the one that forgot them.
But she's insisting that he go back.
We're talking about an hour and a half, right? Is what he says? Just one way. We're not talking round trip. We're talking one way. So he's going to make a 3-hour trip at night. I'm assuming they're probably there now. It's the evening time. So now he gets to go disappear for 3 hours. I guess at this point, you've kind of like walked me through it because I definitely would have taken a different route. I tend to take people's health a little more like, if you're going to say it, I'm going to have to believe you. If she's saying those make her feel better, then I have to be more on the serious end of that, because
even if it's a placebo effect, I understand that.
Sure.
Your mental health, I think, is extremely important.
Sure.
And if you think you're healthy, your body starts to feel healthy.
It starts in your mind first.
And if you feel like you're feeling bad and you think it, then you can actually make yourself sick without realizing it. So I understand that.
Very strong.
However, if I felt like something would help me and it's so far out of the way,
you would take some caveats there and be like, look, we're trying to have a very good weekend. It is only 48 hours.
Or I will go and get it myself,
or that,
if that's the case.
I guess what we are trying to say is he's not the a-hole because she's not willing to have any give and take because she's not seeing the reasoning. Again, I always get caught up on what people think they feel better because they take things. And for someone to say, oh, that's a waste. Well, again, we just talked about it. It's a mind game. You take it, you feel better. The placebo effect is a real thing. But yeah, I'm definitely going to lean into, I guess he's not the a-hole in the situation.
So one of the reasons why I kind of guided you through that one is because I know how you are, Timstradamus. And you're very caring. If something you think is important to someone's health, you'll always go ahead and you'll concede to that.
We have people in our life that we have to watch out for.
And I definitely understand that. However, reading through some of these comments gave me some insight. The fact that she instantly turned it around to their whole vacation is ruined just because she's missing this one thing. The way that she tried to force our poster into going ahead and pick it up, as you can imagine, our consensus on Reddit, not the a-hole.
Yeah. I guess in my type of visioning, I didn't even see where she's being that over the top when I was assessing the medical part of this story.
Well, I know this is going to sound a little odd, but let me go ahead and transition us off to our next story with the same poster on another AITA.
What?
So our poster actually posted up another incident. Let me take you back to a month prior.
What? This is interesting.
Am I the a-hole? Wife doesn't like having the day off or my card. So here's my question to the Reddit world. Am I the a-hole here? My wife told me yesterday, all I want for Mother's Day is to have a day completely off. I don't need or want anything else. I confirmed with her multiple times and then started planning a day for my 2 boys and I. Today comes by. 1. I intercept my oldest son at 7 a.m. before he comes into our room. We go downstairs to watch his favorite morning show and to eat breakfast. 2. The moment I heard my youngest wake up, I got him out of his crib and downstairs. We finish breakfast, and I have them start working on handmade cards for my wife. When I hear her get up, we surprise her with the cards from the kids. Here is where things go wrong. My wife asks me, "Did you write me anything?" I told her I was working on it, but wasn't done. I had been busy with the kids and wanted to finish it up. She was not happy. I quickly finished it up and sent it to her. A note on this, I'm not a very well-spoken person. I have a hard time putting my thoughts together. So I use Google to turn my thoughts into a letter. She knows I struggle in this area. I come inside and she tells me that I plagiarized and used Google for her letter. I told her I absolutely did and that the main points were mine. I then sent her the original and she scoffed and said, "That's it." So Reddit, am I the a-hole for using Google to make myself sound elegant? Am I the a-hole for not writing enough in my original? Final thought, she told me all I wanted was a day off. She's still getting that and is currently out with her girlfriends. Quick edit. Had an awesome day with my boys. Wife was nowhere to be found for most of it, and I have to say it's the best day my boys and I, have had in a while. Edit 2. I saw a post on Facebook and how she's had an awesome day with the boys. ... She's still out with her girlfriends getting her hairs and nail done. Edit 3. Final. Kids are in bed. Wife just got home and asked me if I still planned on working out tonight. I straight up told her I was exhausted and going to bed. She's now not talking to me. I'm so done with her attitude and the drama she brings to the table. Am I the a-hole?
Wow. This is so interesting. So you're telling me that this story happened a month before the previous story you just read?
Correct.
So he dealt with it, is what it sounds like. If he's still putting up with her even a month later.
I like to sleuth into the posters that put AITA on to get a feeling for their personalities, their comments, their added information inside of the comments section, and sometimes I'll even look into previous posts that they might have. In this regard, it looks like he actually posted even another AITA incident, but it got labeled as not enough info. However, for me, I thought it had a clear enough info on it. This relationship, for me, feels a little one-sided. However, I would like your insight on this.
Well, this is terrible. I mean, you don't really need to go any further into this story because he says it. And this is the worst part. And I think a lot of people need to take this into their life. If you're describing having one of the best days you've had in a long time with that person not in it, that's enough.
I definitely agree that in itself probably says a lot about the relationship and the direction that it's going in.
She sounds like a horrible person. To scold someone or
essentially berate them because they don't have...
I mean, he admits it. He's not particularly loquacious, right? It's not in his wheelhouse. But you know what? That doesn't make you a bad person or unworthy of being treated like a human. She basically treats him like a child. That's terrible. That is not a partnership.
If anything, when I read how the poster writes, they're concise, their sentences are shorter, tend to be straight to the point. I wouldn't say they're super creative, and grammatically, there's some issues there. However, he gets his point across very nicely, and if he just needs a push in the right direction, who hasn't done that with writing skills, especially when you're trying to write something nice for someone? Even
if he can't write at all, a partner treating you that way when you're attempting to try is not a partner.
I would also agree with that.
That's disgusting behavior. I wonder why he's sticking around in the relationship because, again, this post you just read me happened a month before the post you read us at the beginning. So he kept with the relationship after that, and it sounds like nothing's changed because she's being... Now I can understand where it was harmless, where I'm like, okay, well, the medication. And no, actually, it's a demand. It's not an ask. That's where she's at. Your relationship is very one-sided, like you guys have probably all pointed out. It sounds like you said he's made 3 posts on this, on their relationship. Sounds like none of it's actually gotten through to him, where this is really bad. And
I can actually see it devolve. So it looks like his very first post to AITA was a little over half a year ago. And his next post after that was on Mother's Day, a month prior to the one that I just read to you before, which is his most current one. And if anything, personally, I can see how slowly things have been going down, where it looks like he's been trying, especially, as I said, I haven't read to you the very first post that he put down, but the extent of it was he was trying to do something nice for his wife and seemed to have wanted some recognition for it and didn't get it. And a lot of Redditors seem to have put down in their comments that if you do nice things, because you expect something back, technically it wasn't a very thoughtful thing
Sure.
to do. However, at the same time, I don't think that it's outside of human nature to want to do something nice and then just be appreciated for that nice gesture.
A lot of people feel underappreciated in the relationships that they're in. You're supposed to make each other and treat each other with kindness.
Correct.
That's a part of a good relationship. So I can understand him. But I bet the reason why he's reaching out is because that situation where he's trying to get some type of recognition back, it's not the first time. This is probably the straw that broke the back, and he's just going out to other people in the world going, look, am I in the wrong? Because this stuff sounds habitual. This sounds like they've probably been together for a minute. They have kids together. It sounds like he's trying to make the marriage work. I may have started this story feeling a certain way about her, but now that you've been able to like fill in the gaps, she's not a partner. She's his owner. That's not a partnership. She's treating you as a child. That's disgusting. And I'm sorry you've had to deal with that. But my opinion in this situation is it's the best day you and your boys have had in a long time. The marriage is over. Lawyer up, move forward with your life. Because I promise you, those things don't get better. It doesn't sound like it's gotten better for you. Now, if you really wanted to try to work in one last ditch effort, because he doesn't allude to them going to couples therapy at all, that might be where you need to go. If you really want to try, because it's not getting better that you're talking to her because she's not listening.
And you're coming on to the AITA forums just to get some form of recognition that you're worthy. And I would just like to say this. If this poster puts or actually listens to this very small channel, you are worthy of actually being appreciated. And you should be worthy of being appreciated by the one person that you've decided to try and live your life with.
Man or woman, you deserve that in a partner.
Well, that was sort of an interesting turn of events when it comes to one of our AITA posters. So let's go on to our last story of the day. Am I the a-hole for lashing out at my family for calling my fiance my second wife? Years ago, I was married to a close friend. We were roommates, adopted a dog together, and lived together since college until our mid to late 20s, married at 24 and 25. However, we were never actually romantically involved. She was not interested in marriage and also questioning her sexuality at the time, but her family was ultra-traditional and messy for many other reasons and kept pushing for her to settle down. I had just gotten out of a rough, long-term relationship, and we kind of just both said, "F it." We basically were kind of living like a married couple. Let's get married for convenience. So we did the paperwork for it, but we never had a wedding. We were also never romantically involved. She just was not my type, and I was not hers. My family knew she wasn't my wife in the traditional sense. They did heavily disapprove, though. When I started getting back into the dating scene, we split up and legally divorced. She remains one of my close friends to this very day, and I care for her a lot. It's been a few years, and I am now 32 with a lovely fiancé who I cannot wait to marry. However, ever since I announced the engagement, my family has been making weird comments like, "Oh, so Roxy's, my dog, is getting a new stepmom. Wife number 2 at 32, huh? That's a lot of wives for your age. Let's hope this second one lasts." It makes both me and my fiancé uncomfortable. I keep on saying that my close friend wasn't really my wife in the traditional sense, but my family brushes me off saying that they're just joking, or she's technically my second wife anyway, so it's not like they're wrong. Today at breakfast, though, I blew up at them and called them disrespectful and rude for belittling my relationship. My mom and my sister both said that if I didn't want to hear these statements, I shouldn't have married my close friend. I threatened to not invite them to the wedding, and now things are super tense. Am I the a-hole? Some edits from the comments I made to help answer some common questions. Why I married my close friend. Health insurance mostly, but also because they kept holding her tuition over her head. We were both in grad school at the time. She was gunning for a PhD. I was going for a master's, but I had a job in an energy commission with some benefits. They'd always tell her that they'd stop sending her money, or some months when the arguing was bad, not send her money at all. They used money to punish her basically. She had a lot of health issues at the time that she couldn't get help for, like chronic pain and wisdom teeth that really needed to be removed alongside some other personal issues. So getting married got them off her back about her sexuality, got her on my health insurance plan, and got them to be more consistent on sending tuition money for her. There were a few other things too, like how they kept setting up potential arranged marriages for her or threatening to take her home to their country. There was also a time when they threatened to have her committed to a mental health facility. At the time, she was also really reluctant on letting me help her beyond minor things because she felt like it was something she had to repay. So between us, it also gave me an excuse to help her. I'd be like, hey, it's what your spouse is supposed to do, right? Even though we both agreed that our marriage was a farce, I think it did something for her psychologically to accept that we had a legally binding relationship where I could help her. I don't know. It was complicated, but it was something that worked for us. I was able to pay for her treatment and let her use my money for herself. She has now graduated and is financially stable. To my knowledge, she no longer speaks with most of her family. She's doing amazing for herself, and I am so damn proud of her. My fiancé knows about my past marriage and has no issue with it. I met her through my close friend, actually, as a mutual of a mutual. At the time, I was already split from my close friend, and while she was initially confused, me and my close friend both sat her down and explained things as clearly as possible. She understands why we did what we did. My family. I was always 100% transparent with my family on my marriage with my close friend. My family understood that I went through a rough relationship before my marriage. I think my mom's exact words at the time were, "I won't force you to do anything, but I'm really disappointed that you take marriage so lightly." They understood that I married my close friend to help her, but I also got the slight impression that they figured everything would sort itself out with our marriage, i.e. I would fall in love with her or something. My aunts and uncles didn't say much else than that they were disappointed that they couldn't attend a real wedding. When I met my fiancé, I told them how it was a big deal to me that it was my first genuine supportive romantic relationship in a long time. At the time, they all seemed happy for me, and no comments like these came up. They told me they were glad I was able to find love again. It was only when we announced the engagement that these comments started. Am I the a-hole?
What a beautifully nuanced story that is. Wow. That's a great way to end Monday. We're hearing the story of a good person. That's refreshing after all the crap we've sifted through today.
It's been a day.
It's nice to hear it. OP, you sound like a genuinely good person. And I'm happy you shared this story with us. I'm not even really looking at all the negative because there is a lot of negative. Your family really does sound like gross people. It sounds like, though, you're setting the expectation for what's acceptable and what you're going to allow. And that's where you should be. They are disrespectful, especially when they understand what you did for that girl. They were using religion and threatening to drag the girl back to their country if she didn't abide by what they thought was their rules for her life. That's heinous. But like I said, I really don't want to focus on that with this story. I want to focus on the OP and how awesome a person he is for having done that for a friend. And yeah, it sounds like it helped her with her mental health to have someone to lean on that wasn't just going to use her or have expectations for her life. So good for you. And then the best part for him is he actually got to find someone later, right? He says he found someone he's romantically in love with.
And through his very close friend.
How cool is that you got to make and find that type of relationship through someone you really loved? Like, that's very cool. I do thank them for sharing the story. It's difficult sometimes listening to all these terrible stories through like, am I the a-hole? But it's nice when you do get the refreshing, like, oh, this is really cool to see. Like they say it, they're in their 30s. So they've got plenty of life to live. And I hope that they do live a long and happy life. And I hope that you do keep your friend who's doing well. I'm so happy that his friend that he helped through all of this stuff is doing amazingly. This is just a good story. You're definitely not the a-hole. And it's nice to just bathe in some of the good stuff that life is. So yeah, not the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is that he's not the a-hole. And in fact, he responded to one commenter that he says, put his thoughts more eloquently and that he wished that he could have said exactly this. So let me go ahead and read that comment out loud so all our listeners can know. So many people stuck on the fact that she is his second wife. OP never says that she isn't. They are upset at the constant jokes and comments and have asked them to stop. Okay, so it is a fact that I am fat. That's not a lie or anything. But if my family were constantly making jokes and comments about it, I'd be upset and hurt. And if I asked them to stop and they continued, that makes them a-holes, right? Just because it's the truth doesn't mean I should be okay with them pointing it out constantly. Same with OP. They both know she is his second wife. That's not what they are uncomfortable with. It's the constant jokes and comments that they aren't wanting. And they did ask the family to stop. Family decided not to. Family is the a-hole. OP is not the a-hole.
I don't see how anyone else could have seen it any other way. Even if, yes, those are the facts, it doesn't mean you get to be rude to someone.
And I think that is sort of the gist of it. You already know what those facts are. Why are you trying to smear it in someone's faces as if it's an insult?
Yeah. But OP, I love your story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Oh yes, OP, you did an amazing thing. You're very lucky that you have a good friend and that your good friend has you. You both were able to hold each other up. And then on top of that, I wouldn't say you have a happily ever after because there's no such thing as happily ever afters if you keep living happily.
Oh, that was the last one.
Yeah.
All right. Good way to end Monday.
Thank you.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We always look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments section below.
Yes.
Oh, listeners, we tried saying this so many times and kept getting tongue-tied.
10 times. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.